would have been fixed long ago. Our government today spends more than 2/3 of its annual budget on mandatory expenses. That's more than 4 times what we spend on defense. This explosion in spending has propelled our nation into a debt crisis that is already well past the tipping point. In fact, Washington has racked up so much debt that it amounts to nearly $1 million for every American family. So I'm going to need that $1 million that you give me, Moneypenny. Equally as concerning, career politicians have no plan to solve this problem anytime soon. Clearly, we simply have to get our nation's finances in order to ensure our economic security, but also to project American leadership and guarantee our country's security. The United States must have the financial resources available to invest in a strong military, support our allies, and secure our nation from foreign threats. We can definitely solve this debt crisis and save Social Security and Medicare. We can also deal with this global security crisis, but we have to get started right now. As a member of both the Senate Budget and Foreign Relations Committees, I'm in a unique position to help change the direction of our country. My goal is to continue to work to focus Washington on solving these two deeply interconnected crises for our kids and grandkids. Earlier this year, the Budget Committee produced a conservative budget that cut $7 trillion from the president's 10-year budget and paved the way to repeal Obamacare and send this repeal to the president's desk. Unfortunately, Washington fell into its old ways and abandoned this budget, just as it has done 36 times out of the last 40 years. Reforming this broken budget process is just one step we must take to get our country back on track. And by the way, just as an aside, who was it that tossed that old budget aside? Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell. Because after all, the GOP controls the House and the Senate. Additionally, from my seat on the Foreign Relations Committee, we focused much on this year on stopping nuclear proliferation and completing the first State Department authorization since 2002. The absence of global leadership from the United States has led many of our allies to question our financial and military commitments and has invoked doubt in our ability to defeat terrorism once and for all. Looking forward, my goal is to get Washington to adopt a more holistic approach to fixing the underlying drivers of our debt and addressing these global security challenges. Georgians and Americans cannot afford another 12 months of inaction on these issues in Washington, which has created a dangerous power vacuum at home and around the world. And sadly, that's Senator David Perdue who wrote that. Sadly, we get more of the disingenuous and more of the smoke and mirrors, more of the BS, more of the horse hockey, and you'll hear about it on the network evening newscast. And the House passed legislation that will repeal Obamacare and defund Planned Parenthood. So what? Senate passed it already. Goes to Obama's desk now, and in the blink of an eye, he'll veto it, and the GOP knows they don't have the votes to override the presidential veto. So it's just more kabuki theater. The way to have defunded Planned Parenthood, the way to have repealed Obamacare was to defund them in the budget process, and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell know that. But they're a gutless bunch of wimps and won't do it. 5:15 here on the Bobby Mack Show. When we come back, and we need it, today's good news story. One dog is certainly a woman's best friend. Tell you about it on the way next.
15 minutes of non-stop breaking news and more stimulating talk kicks off every hour on the Bobby Mack Show, only on 106.3 WORD. The Upstate